Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an episode of the Movie Knights Roundtable Live. It is me, Dalton Burdett, with the amazing Nick Iricchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, buddy.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. Guys, we have a heck of a show for you today. We're going to be talking about a new Oscar rule that seemed obvious, but works a little bit differently than you think. We have the big story of movie studios, for some reason, are afraid of sinners, but why is that the case? We'll get into that as well. And, of course, as always, the box office. So get ready for that. However, there are a couple different things to do off of the top here. Let me get ready. I'm a little bit late to my stream here, so we're trying to get everything going. But Nicholas, as I am kind of prepping this, do you want to do me a quick favor?
Yeah, what's up?
Do you want to thank the good people for all of the views that we're getting on our Andor and Sinners review?
I know it's been super exciting. It's the wonderful benefit of getting to see things early. We get a bump in engagement whenever that's the case. And I just also want to shout out that everyone in the comments has been delightful, which is something that we have
Super
been
rare.
dealing with and been dealing with in the past. And we were very also nervous considering we were putting out a Star Wars video, and that fandom can be quite toxic at times, but luckily everyone seems to unify about the fact that Andor is incredible. And I believe the first 3 episodes will be airing tonight if they haven't already been aired yet. I think they come out at 9.
Yep, yeah, that's true.
So I encourage everyone, once they have finished watching this episode of the Movie Nights Roundtable, to swap over and check out those first 3 episodes. And if you haven't already, check out our review and give us we kind of go over the whole season in a very, very, very non-spoiler way, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on the first 3 episodes as they air. So please feel free to let us know how you feel about them.
Thank you very much for that, buddy. And guys, last thing before we dive into our stories, which I'm very excited to talk about, I have really, really big personal news to share that
Yeah.
Nick is aware of because we called him last night. However, here is the situation. So, anyone who's followed the channel for any period of time knows that at one point in the channel, during COVID, I did reactions to trailers and TV shows, and for a lot of that, I was joined by my better half, the amazing Hannah Heiler, and she helped me out, and she was amazing. She really was the heart and soul of the channel during those days. She was amazing during those reactions. She did so much work for me. But not only that, for those of you that don't know, I'm going to brag about Hannah here for a second, if that's okay. She works for Universal Creative here in Florida, and she is amazing at her job. She just got finished working on Epic Universe. She was one of the associate producers of the Harry Potter live show Le Cirque des Arcanuts, and it is an amazing show. And I'm not just saying that because we're together. I'm saying that because I've seen the show 4 times now, and each time I've seen it, it's unbelievable. It's an incredible feat. She's amazing at what she does. It's amazing. Oh, hello. She's joining us in the live chat. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Hello. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. But anyway, the personal news that I wanted to share with you guys is, for anyone who's joined us for that period of time and who's been around, will be happy to hear that it is official, everybody, as I pull up my phone to get this working, that Hannah and I'm going to try to put it up to the camera here, are engaged. There we go. You can't really see the ring from there. I'll post it in the community tab later. But yes, we are incredibly excited. It's going to be super amazing. And it was the easiest decision ever. We've been dating for a long time, but on top of all of that, she's the love of my life. She's my favorite person. She's my best friend. And I cannot wait to spend the rest of our lives together. And we did it with the amazing quote from When Harry Met Sally on our social media of, when you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. And that's very true. She's commenting, I love you too. And I cannot wait. So with that personal news out of the way, and we lost Nicholas.
And I'll let it pass this time. The best friend comment.
Is that when you dropped off?
Yeah. Not intentionally, just timing. But
Dude, that's
I'm very
so
happy,
funny.
very excited for both of you guys. I love
Thank
you
you.
both very much, and saying that publicly in front of everyone means a lot, as you know, coming from me.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, you little
so
emotionally stunted human being,
so
you.
she could be your best friend for the next ever, I guess. It's fine.
That's so goddamn funny. I'm gonna pull the same bit whenever you get engaged. I'm telling you, and you're gonna forget about it. You're gonna forget about it, and it's gonna be so funny. But guys, like I mentioned earlier, oh hold on, Hannah comments, I would never get in between you two as friends. But guys, with that out of the way, thank you for joining. We're going to get into our stories now, but before we do that, if you want to comment live and talk about our stories, talk about any other movie news stories, or anything movie or TV related, please put it in the live chat. In between stories, we'll pull up your chats. We will go through them. We'll address them if there are any questions. We'd love to interact with you. We would love to, make you part of this community that we love so much. And if you feel so inclined to super chat, please don't feel like you have to. But if you feel so inclined to, we will prioritize your questions and get to those first. So let's dive into these stories, shall we? The Oscars, which is something that we cover extensively here on the show, have a new rule. And that rule is, ready for the drum roll? Oscar voters can no longer vote in a category unless they've seen all the nominees. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, wasn't that always the case? And technically yes, but technically no. So essentially, they're going to be more safeguards in place for when people go into a final round of voting for things that are already nominated, because nominating the Oscars is a bit of a different process, which I can explain if anyone would like to hear. But for the winners, when you kind of go into the system to do your voting, it will make you mark if you've seen all of the films, and it tracks it through the screening website that the Academy has. Now, if you've seen the movie at a film festival or at a movie theater or different from the website, well, how do you track if that's the case? Well, we will show you right now, as I'm going to pull up this little bit from the Hollywood Reporter article here. Here we go. Oh, it's not ready yet. Nicholas, distract them as I fix this article.
Hey, look over here. No. I think it's a very interesting thing, though, the fact that you can be voting and not, it seems like a no-brainer that you'd watch all of this thing. But, as someone who's tried to, do the Oscar gauntlet a few years now in a row, on average, there's, obviously nominations carry over for a movie and stuff like that. But on average, there's been about 50 to 56 different nominees, and there's I think 120 nomination slots essentially, so you could have upwards of 60 movies that you need to get through. And I don't know what the rules are for like original song, if you have to watch it in the context of the movie, or if you can. I've sort of cheated on that one where I just listen to it on Spotify if it's not from a movie that I've already seen. So I am curious about that aspect of it, if that'll come into play. But I mean, it is, especially these people, people with full-time jobs, it's very hard to ask. It's a hard ask, and even having them just all available on one platform, I think it's still a daunting task, that does take some time and some attention to detail.
Yeah. I do think if you're a member of the Academy, having a full-time job is less of a concern. You're probably doing it full-time. But it's
That's
still
probably fair.
It's still not easy. But I kind of wanted to break it down a little bit because there's been a lot of misinformation about like what exactly these voting things mean. Here's what they mean. Pulling this from the Hollywood Reporter, the Academy is now making it harder for members to vote in categories in which they have not watched all the nominees, which, it points out, BAFTA has done for several years. Something that, based on anecdotal evidence, has become more of a concern for the Academy in recent years since the organization massively expanded its membership and brought in a lot of younger members who are busier with their careers, which is what you were mentioning, Nick.
Yeah.
In the past, voters were always asked not to vote if they hadn't watched all the nominees, which is important to point out because it's not like this rule didn't exist. It did. They're just adding new safeguards. But the process operated entirely on an honor system, which in this business, what honor system? Moving forward, though, the Academy's e-voting system in the final round of voting will not allow members to access the ballot for categories in which they haven't demonstrated that they've watched all the nominees. The Academy will track viewing via the members-only Academy screening room, where the streaming app, as for films consumed elsewhere, like a screening, film festivals, etc., members will have to fill out a form declaring when and where they watch the film. And then it mentions in the past, members had to do this in order to vote in the preliminary and nomination rounds for Best International Feature, Animated Feature, and Live Action Short and Animated Short. But now they have to do it for all of the categories for which they are voting for the winners. Now, the reason why it's different from when you're nominating things is because the nominations are only chosen by the branch of that academy, not the entire academy. The entire academy has almost 10,000 members. It's a bit harder to kind of control in that way. But what's really exciting to point out here is, while this rule has always existed, I like that the academy is kind of taking the step of being like, we're gonna just like make this official and make this a thing. Because I don't think it happens enough, like people not voting honestly. I don't think it happens enough to where it can actually sway any like amount of winning, because like I said, there's 10,000 members, and most of the members of the academy take that responsibility incredibly seriously, and they take it to a point where it's something that they take pride in and they look forward to. Like Kirsten Dunst was even quoted saying, someone asked her like almost in kind of a rude way, like, oh, like, did you have time to watch everything? And she answered very seriously and was like, of course I did. I'm a member of the academy. It's like, yeah. Damn right. So I like that this rule is being implemented in a way where they're actually going to start tracking it. As someone who's intrinsically lazy, I would hate to fill out forms every time I watched a movie, but I get it. I totally understand it. Nick, I'm going to give it over to you. What are your thoughts on the academy implementing this system of being able to track to make sure people voting for winners have actually watched the films?
No, I mean, I think it's a great safeguard, especially, I don't think this is going to affect the larger categories, right? I think it's going to affect a lot of the smaller ones, right? Because I doubt any Academy member isn't watching every film nominated at the very least for Best Picture, right? Unless, maybe they think that there is a clear winner, like an Oppenheimer scenario, right? Did anyone bother to watch anything else that was nominated? But I think that's going to be a big step up for the short films and for the animated shorts. I think in the past it has been kind of randomized to a certain extent, looking at what I've watched. Um, and I try to watch them all as well, and seeing which ones actually win. Sometimes I think it's a lot of times like the more popular option that maybe people are like, oh, I've heard of this one. Let me vote for it real quick. And I think it's also right. The Oscars, it's all about campaigning, right? That's a huge factor in it, and when you have several people out saying like, oh, I didn't even bother to watch The Brutalist, it's so long. I think that does affect Brutalist's chances in the eyes of, everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, no, I completely see what you mean. I completely see what you mean. In my view, to kind of reiterate, it's something that most of the Academy was already had been watching everything, but it's nice to at least know that the Academy still puts in the effort to be like, hey, we're going to be doing this now. And they mentioned that BAFTA has done it for a while, but the Academy is kind of. I mean,
we even monster. Have to. We had to do it with our voting we're part of the Central Florida Critics Association, Critics Association of Central Florida. I always flip it, CACF. Yep. And when we did our voting, we have a lot of specialized categories. Like I think we have one for best like child performance, best Central Florida film in that regard, and we were asked to abstain if we didn't watch both films because it's just it was normally like 2 nominees in those categories,
Right.
So I think it makes sense. And I mean, I abstained from the ones I didn't watch. So I imagine it's probably not as big of an issue as people make it out to be. But if it's literally 2 more buttons to confirm that you did watch it, I don't see any harm in that,
No, of course. And what I'm excited about is the anonymous Oscar ballots where they just nominate these absolutely unhinged fucking people. And I can't wait to just hear what they say. They're going to be like, this is ruining my life. Blah, 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 blah. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But guys, what do you think about the Academy and implementing this new safeguard to make sure that the members are watching all the nominated films? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our main topic story today. Only 2 big stories, which is fun. But actually, really quick before I dive into it, I want to point out that Morgan Bernard in the live chat commented, this is the best news ever regarding the engagement. Thank you, Morgan. I really appreciate it. But yeah, let's dive into our main story, Nick. And this is what I'm really excited to talk about here. Sinners. Sinners is a current film out by director Ryan Coogler, which I fucking loved, which you fucking loved, and you can find our review for the film on the channel. It has been such a cool thing to see this movie come out and see the success it's having, which we're going to get into in the box office portion here in a bit. But oddly, this narrative has started to come out around the movie, that if you're in like the movie world space, you've been seeing. And something that I think is very odd is the framing behind the success of the movie. So, for example, Variety put out an article recently that basically was just saying like, hey, Sinners opened to around 45 million. This was based on estimates at the time. But, however, it cost 90 million to make, so profitability is still very far away, and it's going to have a long way to go for it. And what kind of that causes people to be like, Variety, like what you're saying is not entirely incorrect. Sure, like, yes, it has to make more to be profitable. But $45 million for a completely original screenplay with an amazing director and movie stars is an amazing opening weekend, especially considering the current box office climate. Like, why are you framing it in like this negative light? Like, this just seems incredibly odd. Like why it was weird. And then people went back and started noticing that when they covered films like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood back in 2019, which had the same production budget if you take into account the tax credit it got, opened similarly to Sinners. And yet the conversation in that article is, what a triumph for the box office. What a success. What can you believe that this is amazing? And it was just like, okay, that's weird that it's kind of being framed that way. I wonder why. And then you kind of look at it, and obviously some people made the what seems to be the on the nose connection of like, oh, is it race related? And while I definitely see that argument, and I don't think it's entirely not the case, I'm sure that there's part of it, as it always can be. I think I dove into this a lot because I was fascinated. I was like, what is going on? Like, why is Variety doing this? And then you get an article from Vulture coming out saying that a deal that Ryan Coogler made could quote unquote be the end of the studio system. The same deal that Tarantino made, I believe, with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or at least a similar deal, and Tarantino was known to have because when you're a big director like Tarantino, you can get kind of these extra deals and everything. Well, what the hell, Vulture? Like, that's a very crazy thing to say. Like, why would you go on and talk about this deal? And you may be wondering, well, what was in this deal, Dalton? What are they talking about? Sinners, as you know, if you followed this channel for any period of time, was notoriously fought over in a bidding war by all of the major studios. Everyone wanted to get this movie. So naturally, Ryan Coogler knows, oh, I've got some negotiating power here. And he starts going off about what he wants to each studio and, whoever was going to win it. What he ended up walking away with, amongst other things, were two very key factors. Two things that are incredibly rare for directors until you reach a certain status, which he clearly has now. One of them was he, obviously, for his back-end deal where he was going to make more money from the box office success, that's not uncommon, but what is uncommon is he's getting the first dollar gross, which are things like a Tarantino, a Nolan, a Villeneuve can get, but he is kind of the first time him planting his foot saying, like, I'm deserving of this. And what that means is he starts getting paid for his box office portion before the studio recoups their production budget back. So literally the first dollars, he gets his amount before it can go. Because normally with back-end deals and box office deals, you have to wait to get your cut until the film has made its money back. And then you get yours. He got first dollar gross. But that's not what Vulture was pointing out. That's not the big thing that made the headlines. What made the headlines was this. Ryan Coogler asked, as part of his pitch to sell this movie, in 25 years, in 2050, the rights to Sinners automatically revert back to me, and I fully own the film. Now, I'm a bit unclear if that includes sequels and spinoffs and anything like that. I'd have to go re-look at the deal. My brain is fried today because I've had a long day, but I know for sure it talks about the movie specifically. With that being said, that's what kind of Vulture was pointing to, and people quoted in the Vulture article saying this is the end of the studio system. Like, can you believe this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is a deal that already exists with some, it's rare, granted, but with some directors already. Why is this happening? And you kind of have to dive into it a little bit more. You have to do a little bit more research and learn about, like, what's going on, what's the current movie trends with the box office, what's happening. Well, basically, one thing that's happening is movie studios have become incredibly difficult to greenlight films, and they're taking less risks. They're basically only doing things that are related to an IP or that we've talked about on the show recently. If it's attached to somebody that has a lot of followers, it's really hard to get films greenlit nowadays. And the narrative that they're trying to run with is that this is the only way to a path to success, essentially, and to kind of only work for them. Here comes Ryan Coogler making this deal that's incredibly artist friendly, incredibly creator friendly, saying, hey, after we make our money on the first 25 years of this movie, you can have the rights back, and we can, now it belongs to me, and then I profit from this film. Just want to point out in the live chat really quick, Turnip Head says, hold up, I'm late, what are we talking about? We are not talking about the fact that the success of Sinners is being spun to look like it's not very successful. And the point I'm getting to is that I think the main reason for that happening is that the movie studios are being incredibly shitty about wanting to be open to creators. They don't want to see this movie succeed, because if they do, if the movie succeeds, how many other directors, up-and-coming directors, are going to try to make this deal and say, in 30 years, I want the rights to this movie back. In 10 years, I want the rights to this movie back. Maybe even start asking for first dollar gross more, which is more earned by how much money your movies make. But why don't the studios want that? Because they make money off of movies forever in their shelf life. Think about it in terms of whether it be merchandise or selling it to a streaming service or having it licensed anywhere. Like, that's a lifetime deal of money. And you might be thinking, well, 25 years is a lot of time. How much money can they really make off the movie in 25 years? After 25 years, you'd be surprised. How many 30th, 40th, 50th anniversary Blu-ray sets do we get? Merchandise do we get from these classic
theatrical
films?
re-releases.
Theatrical re-releases, all of that. And it's a huge thing that I think that, obviously the studios have friends in the trades and Variety, Hollywood Reporter. And by the way, I'm not blaming the trades or the studios for that. If I was that big in the industry, I would also want to have people there to help control, narratives and help control like what I want, the news I want to get out there. But it clearly seems like they are trying to spin this as, well, don't get your panties in a twist. The movie's not exactly successful yet, okay? It has a long way to go. Because if this movie is a huge hit, which it's looking like it's going to be, the word is out that if you fight hard enough and you're good enough, you can get the rights to your film back. And on top of that, how many people do you think working for Universal, working for Paramount, working for Searchlight, all of these companies that passed on Sinners in the bidding war because Ryan Coogler said, I want the rights back in 25 years. And they were like, yeah, you can go to hell, buddy. How many people went to their boss and said, can you believe this? The guy wants the rights to his film back in 25 years. It's an original. It's not attached to an IP. What a bad move. How do you think their bosses felt when those opening number box office numbers came in? Nick, if I ran a studio and I put you in charge of, I need you to get us movies that are going to make us money and create relationships that are going to last and create more money for us, and you almost had Sinners, and then you came to me and said, they're asking for too much, you don't want it, it's not going to do that well anyway. And then I saw how much money this movie opened to, I would be like, Nicholas, what the fuck? What was that? And some of you may be thinking, well, if it's just going to be a big lose for the studio and then they lose the money after 25 years, or the rights rather, why would they make that deal? Because who do you think Ryan Coogler is going to go to whenever he makes a movie now? He's immediately going to go to Warner Brothers and go, hey, I loved working with you guys. Let's do it again. And that's going to make them more money and more money and more money and more money. It's a very synergistic relationship you have to build.
Then it's very much a one for you, one for me, because then maybe it is like a thing where it's like, hey, Warner Brothers is like, hey, we got this big ass IP. This one's ours.
Yeah.
Whatever original you want to do next, same deal. Let's just keep it going. 25 years, it's yours again,
Yeah.
And I think that, but I also see, I think what it is like you were saying, right? All these other directors are going to be, sort of emboldened to try to make deals like this, especially with the trend that we're seeing now of, I think just very much that, right? Where you have Nolan leaving his longtime relationship with Warner Brothers because was it Universal that he's with now?
Yep.
Universal let him do whatever the hell he wants and gave him everything that he wanted for. Greta Gerwig, as we talked about for a long time on the show, got the theatrical release for the Narnia movie,
Mm-hmm.
which is huge for Netflix, something they wouldn't even give Ryan Johnson. But when your
Mm-hmm.
Barbie movie makes $1 billion, yeah, maybe you get a little more sway on it. And I think Ryan Coogler is one of the best directors working today. I think his resume
Absolutely.
speaks for itself in that regard. But to see him that quickly come, even a Greta Gerwig, right, who's coming off of the hit Barbie, Little Women, and her resume, how deep will it have to be, versus like I feel like it's something Tarantino, something Nolan got very later on in their careers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of the trend, but I think really overall too, and why this might not be such a bad precedent, might be such a bad precedent, right? Movie theaters and Hollywood and these studios, they're struggling to make money. They have overinflated budget, overinflated IPs, and don't know they're scrambling. And if this is the deal that gets you money now, you kind of got to take it. They are losing the rights in 25 years from now, but they got 25 years to milk this for all it's worth. They've got 25 years. They're getting even just Ryan Coogler's relationship now. It moves past that. It
Yes. How
moves
much
past
money can
whatever
he make
Cine
for them
thinks.
within the 25 years on other projects?
Exactly, and it doesn't. Nothing has to be Sinners there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And realistically, what is the shelf life outside of Sinners in 25 years? Maybe he does like a Sam Raimi route, right? Where like with Evil Dead, where it's like here's 10 million, go make Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm.
What's your Evil Dead movie look like? Maybe there is this branch for this Sinners thing with that. I think it's an interesting idea for sure. I am just curious if that's something we're going to see with like young directors thinking they're hot shots,
Yeah.
versus like here's a great right. What about like Jordan Peele's next project, right? Not this one because I think that's all set, but the following one, are we
Mm-hmm.
going to see deals similar to that being played out?
Yeah, and it's an interesting point, and let's clarify too. Ryan Coogler got this deal because he's fucking great, not because he exists and is a filmmaker and asked for it, and so he deserves it all of a sudden. Of course not. If my dumbass went to a movie studio and asked for this deal, I hope they would beat the shit out of me. That would be the dumbest thing ever. But Ryan Coogler has directed films like Fruital Station, Creed, Black Panther 1 and 2, and Black Panther made all of the money, and it was the first Marvel film nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. You gotta hand that, this is him advocating for himself and showing that he's worth it. And it took a studio like Warner Brothers and, which I'm gonna fucking get into in a second, Nicholas, people like Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy to take a risk on him. And on top of all that, some examples of why the ownership thing is important and how the relationship thing is important. You mentioned Christopher Nolan leaving Warner Brothers to go work for Universal. Huge L on Warner Brothers' part. Why was that relationship so good? As you mentioned, the one for you, one for me. What happened? Hey, here's 3 Batman films that you can make entirely as your vision, but they are our big IP. However, because of that, if you want to make movies in between these, come to Warner Brothers, come to us. We'll make them for you. What happens? Batman Begins, Prestige, The Dark Knight, Inception, Dark Knight Rises. How much money did he make for them?
Was it Interstellar with that too?
I think it was Warner. It might have been co-owned with Warner Brothers and Paramount. For some reason, I have Interstellar as Paramount in my brain. I could be completely wrong about that, but
sure.
I do think Warner Brothers was part of it. But that's important. But also back to the ownership thing and why the rights to the film are important. Something really big that's happening this year, and something that I actually have tickets to, is Kevin Smith finally got the rights back to Dogma, one of Kevin Smith's best movies, an incredible movie. If you've never seen Dogma, please watch it when it gets re-released this year. But
it was a co for Interstellar.
Sick. Okay, I'm glad I pulled that. But why could you not find Dogma on streaming? Why was the only thing that exists a DVD and a Blu-ray from several years ago that people skyrocket the price of? Why couldn't you get Dogma anywhere? Because that movie was owned by Harvey Weinstein, and he was holding it hostage to try to get money while he was in prison. When Kevin Smith, and obviously Kevin Smith's fandom, wanted the movie back and wanted to show the movie and do merchandise and do all these things. Couldn't do it legally. They finally got the rights back. And now Kevin Smith can retake ownership of that movie, go on a tour, do the re-release, and do a new physical media release for this movie that he made. That's how important these things are. And, Nick, this is the moment I've been waiting for when it came to the Sinners topic. An amazing article came out today in The Hollywood Reporter talking about Mike DeLuca and Pamela Abdi, because if you've been following us, you know we've been following the insane situation where they've been blamed for Warner Brothers' failures, but not given credit for their successes. And even to the point where there was a report that David Zaslav was actively looking for replacements while telling people, like, nope, we're going to keep them. So this was a whole situation going on. And then Minecraft came out, and you had some new life, because we thought they were done after Joker 2. And then now Sinners is doing well. So they interviewed them kind of talking about everything. And Hollywood Reporter brought up the hit piece in Vulture, saying, like, what do you think about the comments about this being the end of the studio system? I gotta read you this fucking comment. This comes from the Hollywood Reporter. DeLuca, meanwhile, still stung by the Vulture piece, which questioned the decision to allow Coogler to retain the rights to Sinners after 25 years, a clause typically reserved for the Tarantinos of the industry, and he's quoted, "They talked about this as an existential threat to the industry. I mean, it's so ignorant and laughable. Of course it's not a make-or-break thing for any studio or the industry. It was a competitive situation. Ryan himself went on the record saying he was going to get it from somebody else, and he made a pretty effective case for the movie, especially with its themes of black ownership. This is very important and personal to him, and frankly, we were proud to have given it to Ryan." Michael DeLuca, fuck yes. What a comment. What a comment from Mike DeLuca. I've loved these guys. I've loved DeLuca and Abdi so much. Abdi went off on some other things as well, like talking about, like, she was quoted later in the article saying, like, someone gave me shit for giving Bride $100 million, but if I gave it to a dude and not Maggie Gyllenhaal, we wouldn't even be having the conversation. I was like, damn, Pamela, go off. But, like, these are people who are taking risks on films. Like, they're some of the few people, and they're just stuck at Warner Brothers. They're stuck. And the article
I think it's
also...
a thing, too. It's very short term, right? Like we even said, right? It's short term. They need the money now. They need the swings now. They need everything. They're not thinking like, okay, yeah, listen, if we give Coogler this, we probably got him for the next 10, 25 years. I think a lot of the main leadership with a lot of these studios, it's very short-sighted. And you have these executives who are trying their best to keep it. And they're like, we're not going to see success now, but we will see success later. But they're also seeing success now because Sinners is great.
Yes, it's doing really well, and the word of mouth is going crazy. And the article goes on later to say a couple things. One, it says that David Zaslav called us and assured us that the reports of looking for our replacements was fake news, and I'm like, sure it was. But also, a big thing is they mentioned, literally, as we're talking about what's probably going to be likely, they mentioned, what does it look like for the future of you and Coogler? And they say, oh, we just got done talking to him, and as soon as he finishes Black Panther 3, he's coming back. Of course he is. Like, you just gave him this. Also, how sick was that comment of Ryan Coogler saying, look, if you don't give it to me, I'm just going to get it somewhere else? Amazing.
The thing is, he's probably not wrong.
He's not wrong at all. It's incredible. But yeah, this whole situation just kind of pissed me off, and I wanted to talk about it on the show. So thank you guys.
It is. I mean, it's a great movie, and trying to frame it as the enemy of cinema, and that it's a box office underdog. It's not. It's what its budget with marketing's 90s, so it needs to clear 180, which I think given it's
probably like
tracking
220, 2.5,
220,
225, 230.
I really don't see it. It might be close, but I really don't see an issue with it reaching that, especially with the word of mouth coming out. I think the only thing that might ultimately put a damper on maybe some of its legs is it's getting wedged right here with Thunderbolts and Mission Impossible, right?
Yeah, and look, I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, oh, it's going to clear profitability, no problem. Like, no, like, the whole point of, like, oh, it has a while to go. Sure it does. But focusing on that instead of, hey, We have an original film that opened to just under $50 million, when if you look at other original films like Novocaine and all that, they're barely cracking like 10. Like,
Yeah.
this is great. Like, this is great. Like, this is a sign of good things to come.
Well, there's so many different things too. Like the big, we've been seeing a lot of it was shot on IMAX. It was shot on 70 millimeter film. And there's only a certain amount of movie theaters that can show 70 millimeter film, right? But there's a lot more that can do 35. I believe that's what the Enzian
Yep.
theater here does.
Mhm.
So now that you have a movie that's on film in that regard, you bet your ass they're probably looking to try to figure out how they can get that film to do a night there. And you know what? I'm gonna be there for it.
100%.
I would love to go
Yes.
see this on film.
No, of course. And
Well, I get you know what I mean when I say on film. I've
yes,
seen it, yeah.
yes, of
But,
course, of course. I actually thought about flying to Indiana to go to Indianapolis to watch it on 70 millimeter because that's one of the places it's showing, and just I have family up there, so it could have worked. But I'm tired. But I really want to see it on 70. I really do. But guys.
Mhm.
What do you think about this whole situation with movie studios being afraid of Sinners and what everything could mean on it? Let us know in the comments as we move on to the box office.
The box office.
Nick, do you happen to have our predictions?
I do, but I don't want to share them because I'm kind of an idiot.
You're good, dude. Go on.
All right, Dalton, you had Sinners, Minecraft, King of Kings, Warfare, and The Amateur.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Minecraft movie, Sinners, The Amateur, King of Kings, and Drop.
Dude, I just had to flip my 4 and 5 and I would have fucking nailed it. Fuck! Guys, here is the top 5 box office of last weekend. It was coming in number 1, Sinners, making $48 million. Coming in second was Minecraft, making 40 in its fucking third weekend, which is great for them, to drop 48% from week 2 to week 3. Dropping only 9% from week 1 to week 2, The King of Kings making $17.5 million, which we assumed would have a short drop because it was over Easter weekend and it deals with similar themes. The Amateur came in fourth at $7 million, dropping 53% in week 2, and Warfare came in fifth, making $4 million, dropping 42% from week 1. I really thought Warfare was going to get just over The Amateur there. I really did. But, alas, Drop came in sixth, making $3.2 million. And let's dive into these numbers a little bit more, shall we? So, let me get this set up. All right. By the way, the Pride and Prejudice re-release came in 8th. That's fucking awesome.
How much did that make?
It made $2 million, 2.8, almost 3. By the way, we're going to have a fun conversation about the box office next weekend, buddy.
I started thinking about it now because it's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Oh, yes. So Sinners total has $71 million worldwide at the box office. On a budget of 90, it's at 0.8. I think this is going to clear profitability in 2.5 weeks. Easy. Now, part of the reason why I think that is I want to go down here for a second. This movie made on a Monday, yesterday, made $7.8 million. That's the third highest Monday for a horror movie in history. Now, granted, it was Easter Monday, sure, but like, come on, guys.
Regardless.
The word of mouth on this is insane. It's going to do really
There's
well.
a lot of Garfields out there, you know.
Fucking, why would you say it like that?
It's a Monday joke for those.
Minecraft. A Minecraft movie, fucking $722 million worldwide on a budget of $150. It's at 4.8. That's another win for Warner Brothers right there.
4.8 in its third week.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, this thing's clearing a bill easy, right?
Yeah, I think so. If not, it'll come just short, but I think it is going to get there. The King of Kings with Angel Studios has $51 million worldwide so far. Again, no budget listed, but I bet you this is so profitable. I don't think they made this movie for very much at all. I'd be surprised if it was above like 20. It's probably even less than that. I'm assuming
budget went to Oscar Isaac, didn't it?
Yeah.
That's the one with him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amateur now has $64 million worldwide on a budget of 60, so it's just over the production budget. We'll have to see how it does in terms of profitability, but the legs do seem to be dwindling down on it. Let's see. Warfare has $17 million worldwide on a budget of 20, so it's just under the production budget. If it can stay in the top 5 and have short drops, maybe it has some hope, but I don't think this will end up being fully profitable. It might make about 1.5 by the time it's done, just from the legs it has. And Drop has $20 million worldwide on a budget of 11, 1.9 times the budget. I think it'll just squeak past profitability for the studio and hopefully make even more on video on demand services there. That is that last week's box office. But Nick, here comes the fucking question, buddy. Next week, this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to go first? You want me to have pity on you?
Yeah, we got so in terms of new releases, there's Accountant 2.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of re-releases, there's Star Wars Episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's still the Sinners and the Minecraft of it all.
Yep.
Is there anything else coming out with Accountant 2 and that?
Nothing major. I mean, there might be a couple smaller releases, but...
Gotcha. All right, yeah, you go first.
I'm going to go Sinners number 1. I'm going to go... Fuck. I'm going to go Accountant 2 number 2.
Ooh. Okay.
Minecraft number 3.
Okay.
Star Wars number 4. Revenge of the Sith re-release. King of Kings number 5. Actually, flip Minecraft and Star Wars. Fuck it. We'll put Star Wars in 3rd.
Really?
I think the meme of Minecraft will switch to Star Wars.
Ooh.
Turnip Head says Accountant 2 Oscar sweep. I fucking hope so. I unironically love the fucking first movie. And by the way, hold on, Nick, while you're doing that, have you fucking seen the Rotten Tomatoes for Accountant 2?
I have not seen the Rotten Tomatoes yet.
Oh. All right, here, you do yours and then I'll reveal it to you.
All right, I'm going Sinners 1.
Okay.
I'm going Minecraft number 2.
Okay.
Then I'm going Accountant. Then I'm going Star Wars. And then I'm going I'm gonna go King of Kings.
All right. This will get
it had
interesting.
a 9% drop. That's pretty good. So I'm gonna stick with it there.
All right. Now, I'm gonna reveal this was the Rotten Tomato score for The Accountant 1. 53% critic rating, 77% audience. I love this movie. I gave it, I think, my second highest grade when I watched it and reviewed it, and I stand by that.
It's quite fun.
I love it. I think it's smarter than people give it credit for. But The Accountant 2, now granted, this has 285 reviews. The Accountant 2 does not have that many yet. I think it has about 50. The Accountant 2 on Rotten Tomatoes right now holds an 82%.
Hell yeah.
Let's fucking go.
I think it's going to get a big bump too, especially for like the Jon Bernthal fans of everyone.
Yeah.
I think coming off the hype of Daredevil, I think people are going to be very inclined. I think he has a lot of draw to the theaters. And man, Ben Affleck's been on a hell of a press tour. Did you see him on all the Valorant stream things?
Yeah.
He just plays Valorant. He just kept showing up to tournaments. It's like, what are they making him do? I love it. He do his shit too. That's what's funny.
Yeah. He does.
But man, I think the meme of just Ben Affleck as a whole, though, I think will also help it. I think it's I think it's maybe a movie a lot of people like or remember seeing, and they're like, oh, that movie from 9 years ago. All right, I'll go check it out. Why not? In terms of movies I never would have expected a sequel, Accountant was definitely one of them.
Every day I hoped, and finally we got it.
And they brought it.
Yes, yes. Ah, so good. John Bernthal great in the first movie too. Listen, the first movie is great. I love the first movie.
He doesn't have a big part in the first one, though, right?
He does in the third act.
Does he? I gotta rewatch it.
Dude, name a time and a place. I'm there. I'm there.
Before Thursday.
Yeah, so I would try to watch it tonight, but I have a screener that I'm going to watch tonight that I'll tell you about when we wrap. And then I will try to, maybe I can watch it tomorrow with Hannah. I don't think Hannah's seen it. So it is exciting. But guys, that will do it for today's show. We're going to be doing another live stream likely on Friday. Be ready for that. We'll try to get it more organized. It's been crazy recently, but we're back. We're in it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Probably very late Friday, most likely.
Yes, definitely, most likely, because of what we got going on. But it'll be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll do it Saturday. We'll chat about it. But guys, always love doing the show with you. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.